Yo, we're back again. This is part two. We're picking up where we left off with part one of episode 17. If you're missing it and you don't know what we're coming off with, gotta go back and listen to part one. We're picking up right where we left off with Julius Randle. Talked about him winning the Most Improved award. In the rest of this episode, we're talking about the rest of the NBA awards, including the MVP, Coach of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, even the Rookie of the Year. It didn't come out at the time we recorded, but we gave our predictions on it. We predicted a couple other things, but you gotta listen in to make sure you know what we're talking about. So thank you for listening so far. Enjoy the rest of the episode. Thank you.
Well, that can take us into next. We brought up Julius Randle was most improved, and another thing we've been getting here since we entered the second round of playoffs is our NBA award winners. The only award winner we haven't received yet is the Rookie of the Year. So, but we can make our predictions of that once we talk about everybody else. But we got to start off with my guy, the Joker, winning MVP. First, they say he was the first Serbian MVP, which is kind of crazy because I don't think about Serbia when I think countries in basketball. But do you think the Joker deserved the MVP this year? Who was your MVP? Let me ask you that.
I love Joker. I'm very happy that he won it. Well deserved. I like his game. I like him overall. I'm probably in a minority when I say this, but no, he's showing an MVP.
Really?
My MVP pick is Mr. Christopher Paul the third.
No, really?
Yeah, man. I'm in that group, man. Because maybe it's a little bit of a career thing for me, but this is at least his third time he should have won MVP. I remember one year, I think it was '07 maybe, he could have won that one. I think that's the year Kobe won. And that's the year he could have won that one. That was his Hornets years. It was another year with the Clippers, maybe. He I can't remember when his second time was. But it was another year he could have won it. I wasn't too mad about that one. But this year, for him to be doing what he's done with the Suns, like the Suns were, it was a cute story last year what they did in the bubble. That's the way it was perceived. It was cute. Okay, you win an 8-0 run in the bubble. That's nice, man. That's just, good job.
Hey, that's
nice.
Exactly what it seemed like for us. Like, exactly. Hey, them boys hooping. Good
job. I respect it. I respect y'all. Like it was a respectable play, but nobody took them serious as a threat. Nobody said, all right, they made the playoffs, it'll be an AFC sweep and they done. Chris Paul said, nah. Like, this is not the first time Chris Paul has done this. Like, what he has done over his career has, I don't want to say unmatched, but it's like only a few can really do what he's done, man. Like, he's taken players and made them seem like he's basically the LeBron of point guards. Where LeBron will take someone who is mediocre, average, good, decent, you know what I mean? Somebody who's not that great. And he will squeeze every ounce of talent out of whatever you have to give me. I'm gonna get 100% of that. If you are a corner shooter, I'm maximizing that to the 110% of whatever I can get from you. Your pick and roll, all right, bet. I'm gonna make you the best pick and roll player in the league. Like, he does that. Tyson Chandler was a way better player with him than with any other time in his career.
Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan too.
Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan have never been the same besides when they was with him. Blake Griffin
they never looked at the same.
Blake Griffin did his thing with the Pistons. Don't get me wrong, but he was not the same, bro. Like he shots were looking totally different. DeAndre Jordan was talked about as being an all-star when he was with Chris Paul. When he left him, all that talk was gone. Like, so it's like, to be honest, man, like Chris Paul, besides when he was in Houston, never had a player even close to his caliber. Like, he never had the top tier superstar with him. And even with James Harden, that was what, a year and a half, maybe 2 years. Harden? Yeah,
it was 2 years.
So 2 years of that, and look what happened when he finally got there. He finally got a chance to get there. His injury, that he either doesn't have enough to get him over the hump, or injury stops him from being over the hump, which sucks for him to say for him. But that's my MVP, man. Like, for him to do what he's done time and time again, with him being 35 now, and it's like for him to still be playing that type of level, and for him to have that much control and input over a game still, it's ridiculous, man. So it's like the Suns wouldn't be. I can't say the Suns would be where they were or where they are without him. I hate to throw the postseason in there too, but this man was the reason or a big reason why they overcame the Lakers. Like if they didn't have him on the team, that would have went a totally different way. Like, yeah, you would have had a chance because AD went down, but come on now. It's still you going LeBron versus Devin Booker. LeBron's winning that 11 times out of 10. Like, come on, bro. Like, I'm sorry. I love Devin, but no, that's not what. But Chris Paul makes a difference. So that's my MVP. I'm not trying to talk bad about Joker. I'm not trying to take away from him, but I'm trying to put more on Chris Paul. So that's my MVP.
I kind of feel where you're coming from with that, but I'm not gonna lie. I did not think the Joker. Joker was not my MVP either. Well, let me clarify that. So, I think Joker deserved it, but my vote would have went to Joel Embiid. But I realized why they didn't give it to Embiid because he missed so many games being injured.
Yep.
So that was understandable. So then after Joel, I would say Steph Curry really deserved the MVP. But I knew they wasn't going to give it to Steph because they ain't made the playoffs. They was close. They were technically did in a regular because they was the AC. But yeah. I knew they weren't going to give Steph the MVP because they didn't give Dame the MVP that year. He willed his team to the actually. When Dame willed his team to the AC, he really deserved the MVP. You see, they didn't get that deal. And so, which I understand, if you're the most valuable player, that should equate to winning. But at the same time, like, I feel like LeBron was in MVP talks in Cleveland every year. And they were never like, not granted, they were 7th, 8th seed, but them 2 years in Cleveland without Kyrie, they was 4th and 5th seed both years. And he was in MVP talks. He was in MVP talks every year. Because every year they looking at LeBron like he ain't got no help.
Yeah.
So here you got Dame Lillard and Stephen Curry, who both in different years had no help. They barely make they literally wheel their team to the play. Dame, especially in the bubble last year, Dame and his team had to win them games to make the playoffs. Same as Phoenix. Like if Dame lost one more game, they did not lose. They did not go to the playoffs. Phoenix went to the playoffs.
Yep.
So I don't know, man. I feel like there's something. But I knew Steph wasn't gonna get it for that exact reason. They didn't get the name. So they better not give it to Steph, at least, because I was gonna be mad about that if they did.
Yeah.
But so yeah. Other than that, Joker deserved to be the MVP. But them my real picks. Who I really would have picked. If Embiid would have played more games, I'd have gave it to Embiid. If Steph was at least the 6th seed, they should give it to Steph. But
yeah, I feel like Embiid was a front runner probably most of the season, honestly. Like you said, injuries took him out of play. Steph, lack of winning took him out of play, and just overall, I think injuries play a little bit with him too, because his injuries are the reason why he didn't win as much. Obviously, I'm not mad with either one of those picks, man. Like if either one of them would have got it, I would have felt the type of way about Steph. I would have felt the type of way about Embiid, obviously, because you can't miss that many games and feel like. I think him it's a couple years where a player missed a certain amount of games and they still won it. Like I think I forgot who it was. But a certain player missed a certain amount of games and they still won it regardless. Him missing those games took him down, and Joker's play took him up. So it's like at the same time, Embiid's numbers, not his numbers, but like his lead was coming down while Joker's was catching up to him. It's like at that time, by the time Embiid came back, he was already playing from behind at that point. So that was a tough blow for him. But I think Joker was the smartest and the safest move to go that caused the least amount of trouble. You feel me? Because Embiid would have won. You had the like we just said, he was too injured to win them games. If Steph would have won it, I mean, Dame should have won it last year. You know what I mean? If Chris Paul would have won it, I would have been happy, and that would have been the story for me. I wouldn't say nothing. But
there's been a lot of people with something to say they gave to Chris Paul. But
hey, I would have been happy.
He did deserve something. Like, he deserves something. You feel me? It was just one of them seasons like, man, I wish we could give you something. Like an honorable mention, something.
But knowing him, he wouldn't have took it and be like, man, get this out of my face, bro.
True.
I don't want this trash.
Very
like,
true.
I don't want no cookie. I want to win. Like,
I don't want no cookie.
Give me the second place. That's basically what it began. It would have been a second place trophy. Like, here you go. We can't get you MVP, Chris, but how about this? Nah, bro. I want that ring.
Cool,
give me my MVP award or a ring. But speaking of Christopher, that's my dog, man. CP3. So how do you feel like? I'm not saying it's a for sure thing at all, but I feel like it's more likely this year than pretty much almost any year he's been in the league. He has potential to get to the finals and win a ring. So how would a ring shake out for him?
I've been hearing a lot of people say Chris Paul wins a ring, he automatic top 5 point guards in league history. I don't know where you at. So let me ask you, where do you have Chris Paul all-time point guards right now? So is he in your top 5?
Off the top of my head, I have to say yes. Magic, of course.
Yeah.
Magic, of course, is up there.
Chris,
Steph is up there. Chris. I'm a big J Kidd fan. He's probably the top 10 for me. Steve Nash is probably top 10. That's tough. Magic, Steph, Chris Paul. I gotta throw Westbrook in there, man.
Top 5?
Yeah. If you want to throw Oscar in there, I gotta throw Westbrook over there because he's basically 2.0 of that. So I'll take the updated version of that for me. It's my top 5.
You absolutely right.
So,
you absolutely
now, skill-wise, of course, he's not one of the most skilled point guards ever, but it's like what he brings to the game overall. And if you funnel him in the right direction with the right pieces around, like this dude had a triple-double 3 years in a row. I don't care what anybody says. That's very hard to do, man. Like, even with the inflated numbers and stats, like, that's a very, very hard thing to do. You cannot do that in any pickup game. You can't do that on any 2K game. I don't care what. Make up anything you want to. That's very hard to do. Made it 3 years in a row. That's tough. But that and just like his level of winning that he brings. He's kind of like he's going to change the culture of a team. Like the Wizards this year without him is like maybe a borderline, like if they were talking about the the bubble, not the bubble, the play-in tournament again, they wouldn't been anywhere close to where they were this year. Now, granted, they had injuries and everything, but I feel like Westbrook changes the dynamics of everywhere he goes. Like he's a superstar in my book as far as that goes. But he's in my top 5 all time. I think about that 5th spot, man. I don't know. But I think Chris Paul is my top 5 for sure. So if the ring would probably put him more comfortably in the top 5, I'll say that. Like he's probably borderline top 5 for a lot of people. And I think that ring would put him very comfortably in the top 5. Like he'd probably be like maybe number 4, maybe number 5 for most people. I think that bumps him to automatically probably top 3. Like John Stockton's in that conversation. Steph is obviously in that conversation. I can't think of anybody else right now. But I think Chris Paul, if you want to ring this year, especially this year with the team that he has, and think about it, he had to go through LeBron, dethrone him. Just going through the Nuggets, the MVP of this year, beat them. He's either going to face Donovan Mitchell and the Defensive Player of the Year, the 6th Man of the Year, and the number 1 seed in the West, or he's going to go against Kawhi Leonard and Paul George and beat them. And he would have to face either the two-time MVP Giannis, which I doubt he will. I think that's going to win that series, or he has to go against the juggernaut Nets.
Yeah, they beat them. That's gonna mean something.
Exactly. You know what I mean? Like he went through LeBron, the MVP of that year, the number one seed of the Western Conference with the defensive player of the year and the sixth man of the year. And to the finals, he had to beat the freaking Monstars. So out of all the years for a championship to mean something, this is one of those years. Like you legit went through LeBron James, potentially Kawhi Leonard, the MVP and Joker, Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving.
But be the All-Star lineup.
You legit went through the whole All-Star lineup in one postseason, bro. Like, so him winning this ring would mean so, even more than just winning his first ring. Like I just said, that who he went through will boost him up even a little bit more. So I think this ring will have a little bit extra on it than the average ring will for somebody else. So that's how I stand with his ring.
Yeah, because I was one of the people that was saying if LeBron James take this team from the 7th seed and go through the 2nd seed Suns and potentially beat the MVP and then beat Kawhi Leonard and Paul George in the Eastern Conference Finals and then beat the superstar Nets, I was one of the people saying if he do all that, he the GOAT, like undisputed in my mind. If he were to do all that, I was saying that. Now we know now that didn't happen, but so yeah, I had to give that same respect to Chris. If he was to do all that, you know, he gonna be up there. But for me, I can tell you my top 5 point guards are right now. I can tell you y'all top. Magic Johnson number 1. Mm-hmm. Steph Curry is number 2. Mm-hmm. Oscar Robertson is number 3. Mm-hmm. I say Isaiah Thomas number 4. John Stockton number 5. Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah, I completely forgot about him.
Yeah, I know. I can really switch John and Isaiah, but Isaiah got the ring, so we'll throw Isaiah in there for it.
But you see how you just did that? Like, it's tight, but Isaiah got the ring, so I give him that nod. You see what I mean? Like, so like Chris Paul being right there is like, who do you want? Isaiah, Chris Paul. It's basically the same player for the most part. But I'm gonna give Isaiah because he got the rings, and he got 2 of them. Chris Paul versus John Stockton. John Stockton got the stats, so I'm gonna give him that nod. You know what I mean? It's like little stuff like that makes a difference. So I feel like him having that ring, like I said, he might be borderline for a lot of people where he's 4, maybe 5, and that because he doesn't have the ring, that knocks him down. Who do you want, Isaiah or Chris? Isaiah, he got the rings. Well, do you want him or Chris Paul? He got the ring, so I'm gonna give it to him. Stockton or Chris? Stockton got the stats and records and get to him. But now he got the ring. Okay, that trumps the stats now because you got all the stats, but you ain't got the ring.
You absolutely right.
That solidifies him on another level. So he might be borderline. Now he's comfortable. He can breathe now in that top 5 talk. But I got to throw Isaiah in my top 5. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Now you ain't really get no order, but you just kind of said who would be in there. But I know my order. Magic, Steph, Oscar. Like I just noticed. Like I ain't saying you got to give me one, but Magic, Steph, Oscar, Isaiah, John. That's the top 5. Chris Paul win a ring, I will slide him up over John. He'll be 5, but only 5. He ain't jumping nobody else. The mother boy solidified as of right now. So
yeah. I say with the ring,
I suggest you drop Russell Westbrook up out of there.
Man, for me, I'm not trying to be disrespectful to Oscar at all. Got a lot of love for him, but for him, it's like him and Westbrook are kind of right there. Like we just said, the ring bumps him over Westbrook a little bit for me. So like that's probably my 5 debate right there for me. So I'll probably say my top 3 would have to be Magic, Steph, Isaiah, Chris Paul, Oscar, and Westbrook are like, depending on how I feel that day, it's like juggling between 4 and 5. But I'll probably say Chris Paul 4. Westbrook and Big O. I'm gonna go. That's tough. I'm gonna go with Westbrook, man. Might be a little fandom for me because that's my guy. But I'm gonna go Westbrook. That's tough. That's my dog.
I understand. I understand.
So yeah, man, that's how I feel about that. Let's get back into the awards, man. So we talked about MVP. Let's go on the. I feel like this is the same as the MVP talks. The Coach of the Year. I feel like this is the same debate that goes on for MVP goes on for Coach of the Year. You know, sometimes the storyline of is it the best player with the worst team or worst thing around him, or is it the best player on the best team? Like he did the most with the least amount of talent around him, or he did the most and he had the most around him. So it's like they won, so obviously you got to give it to him. Same thing for coaches. It's like this coach did the most with the least amount of talent out of everybody, or it's like, man, this coach had to manage the ego and talents of all these players, and they won X amount of games, so we got to give it to him. Or this coach ended up coming in, turning around his organization, and he deserves it off of that. Which I kind of feel like why Tibbs got it. You feel me? Like he came into New York, changed the organization around, got his guys in there, and he coached up the most improved player. He coached up Derrick Rose to get back. Well, he played a role in Derrick Rose getting back to where he is today, and that's why he got it. So, how do you feel about Tibbs getting Coach of the Year?
I feel like it's deserved. Is where else? To me, it was between him and the coach of the Suns, Coach Monty Williams.
Yeah.
I feel like it was between them two easily. And the coach of the Jazz, Quinn Snyder, he was in the running too. They was top 3. I feel like it was really a 2-man race though. It was either Tibbs or Monty Williams. Mm-hmm. But I get a nod to Tibbs because Monty got proven star Chris Paul and proven bucket Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton and Jay Crowder started. So, he got a solidified team. Like this team got experience minus that. Well, no, I ain't gonna say experience. This team got leadership. This team got size. It's got what you need. And he's still a great coach. Obviously, the second seed. They were 6th seed. So, he still did his job. But Tibbs he ain't have no proven stars, no proven players. Julius Randle been a good player for the past few years, but never an all-star. And Derrick Rose hadn't been the same since he coached them last when he won the MVP. He ain't been the same since. This year and last year has been his best 2 years since he started getting hurt consistently. So they've been this year, last year, been his best 2 years in the last 6. I get it deals because you telling me I got Julius Randle and Derrick Rose as my best players, and what seed were they? The 4th seed. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I get the deals. I feel like that's respect because. Look at who we got. I can read you the players. RJ Barrett, second year in the league. Nerlens Noel, Frank Ntilikina, Alec Burks, Elfrid Payton. These are the guys playing. These guys play. Obi Toppin, rookie. Reggie Bullock. He got guys playing that's solid role players. Derrick Rose and Julius Randle, they best players. And then everybody else is role players. And so it's just really crazy. I feel like he deserved the most praise for that. So Coach of the Year definitely got to go to him in my book.
I agree. I ain't got nothing to say to that. Basically, man, like you just said, I won't say he doesn't have any proven. I feel like Derrick Rose is the most proven. Taj Gibson is a solid role player, which is why he pulled them in there. But outside of that, you don't have any real, no experience, no real, nothing solid to say that this team is a playoff team. I remember when Derrick Rose said he wanted to leave and go to New York. Somebody up there, at Detroit was, the coach. What's his name? What's his name? What's the Pistons coach? He used to coach in Toronto. What is his name? black dude. He won Coach of the Year. What is this guy's name? This is terrible. Dwayne Casey. He laughed at him. He was like, basically, you go into a lateral situation. You sidestep and go to the same place. And look at him now. Like, everybody thought, I was mad when Derrick Rose went to the Knicks. I was like, come on, bro. Like, he finally getting back healthy, looking like an old self. I wanted him to have a chance to win and compete for a championship. Little did I know that they were finna turn around and at least make the playoffs. Did anybody think they're going to ring? No, of course not. But at the same time, they went a lot further than most of us expected. So, gotta get some of that love to Tills, man. And that he did his thing, change that organization around to say 4th seed in the playoffs. So, I agree, man. That's the Coach of the Year in my book. So, I love Monty. I like Quinn Snyder and his thing, number 1 seed in the West. But gotta get the Tills, man. So, that's where I stand.
Good. Yeah, so we pretty much agree on that, so that's good. And then I want to talk Defensive Player of the Year. Rudy Gobert just won Defensive Player of the Year for the 3rd time in 4 years. I want to say 4 or 5, because Giannis won it last year, and then he won it 2 years in a row. That's right.
I think so. It sounds right.
Yeah. Yeah, so he done won 3 out of the last 5. I know for sure. But a lot of people have an issue with Rudy Gobert consistently being Defensive Player of the Year and in all-star conversations and stuff, but not really having a whole lot of talent outside of defense. So what do you say to
that? That's funny though, because like, you're mad that or you feel a type of way because a defensive guy won Defensive Player of the Year. Like, what kind of sense does that make? You feel me? I can kind of understand the all-star thing, but a defensive guy won Defensive Player of the Year. Like, what did you expect? Did you expect, like, JJ Redick to get it? Did you expect Steph Curry? No offense to Steph, but like, you don't expect the offensive guy to win a defensive award. The same way you wouldn't expect Rudy Gobert to win a scoring title, or they came out with an offensive player of the year. Like, you wouldn't expect him to win that title. So it's like, to win a defensive player of the year and feel type of way about that, I don't agree with. Now, do I think he should have won the award? No. I don't consider him the best defender in the league. I wouldn't have been mad if Draymond or Ben Simmons won it. Both of those guys were finalists. I really respect Ben Simmons, man, because he's probably the only guy. No, not the only, but one of the few guys who can legit guard 1 through 5. Like, legit. I'm not talking about, 1 through 4, and kind of like, he can legit go from guarding Kyrie Irving one game to guarding LeBron the next game, to guarding Anthony Davis the next game, to guarding Joel Embiid, like, if he has to, Joel Embiid or Joker the next game. Like, he can legit comfortably do that. One of the few players that can comfortably do that.
All right.
That is people who don't really know basketball, that's a very, very hard thing to do. Like, for you to say, all right, you guarding Kyrie Irving Monday. Thursday, you're going to have to guard LeBron James and turn around and guard Giannis the next game, and turn around on next Tuesday and guard Kawhi Leonard, Kevin Durant, Joker. Like, that's a very hard thing to do. People don't understand how hard that is. Like,
Thanks.
Because it's totally different players, totally different players. That's a hard thing to do. So I got a lot of respect for Ben Simmons. He's been underrated as a defender for years now. But I don't know if he's my defense player of the year. I feel like Draymond let me down a little bit, man. Oh, that's tough, man.
Hey, no, Draymond, hey, listen to me. Draymond gets no respect for this season after the way he ended the Warriors. None.
I knew that's gonna come up.
Hey, look, this man, no, because I'm still upset. I ain't even a Warriors fan. I'm not a Steph Curry fan. Like, I like Steph. I ain't got nothing against these guys. But, I ain't even a Warriors fan like that. But for Steph to be out here doing what he was doing, to lose like that, Steph probably called the league. Like, hey, that deal, yeah, let Rudy have it. Because this man that sold me. Like, no, I can't get to him. And then we was just out here talking about Steph Curry playing by himself. We were saying that all year. So no Draymond get Defensive Player of the Year. Like before now, everybody was talking about Steph out there by himself. Now we talk about Draymond Defensive Player of the Year. Like, so man, add up, you feel me? Like, I would have liked to see him being with it though. That was me too. I would like to see him being with it. And I don't know if you seen the interview he did with Rachel Nichols a while back in the middle of the season. Oh, I like being cocky. Now you talk about humble, like what you say? You said
humble confidence.
Dang, yeah, you was saying humble confidence. Now Ben ain't no humbleness in there.
Yeah,
cocky. Like this man, she asked him if he thinks he deserves the first player of the year. And he's like, yeah, I think I deserve to win it. And then she asked him something about Rudy Gobert, and he said, don't get me wrong, Rudy's a great shot blocker and things like that. He can block shots for you and get rebounds, but I don't think he's a really great defender. And then she's like, why you say that? He was like, they put him last time when we played Utah, they put him on me. And she said, what'd you do? He said, I had 40. And and he said, according to people, I'm not a scorer like that. I was like, this. This.
I'm one of those guys who can guard 1 through 5. Obviously, there's a lot of respect for Rudy. I know what he's capable of. I know, he's great down there in the paint, but he's not guarding everybody. And that's just what it is. I mean, he guarded me in Utah.
And?
I had 42. And apparently I'm not a scorer, so it is what it is. But I have a lot of respect for him. At the same time, I think it's mine this year.
Yep. No one thing I ain't gonna never get mad at nobody for. Hey, talk your stuff, okay? If you can back your stuff, I ain't saying just be cocky and talk trash but to other people. But if you can talk your stuff and bring up your facts, hey, this is what I did. I know what you talking about, but let me tell you what I did. Because I'm that type of dude too. I ain't gonna lie to you. Now, I do have a humble confidence about myself, but what you ain't gonna do is play me like I ain't did what I have already done. I got a little track history, you feel me? So, and you as my teammates and my coach, I'll be quick to say, hey, I don't care what you say, this first team Alabama walking double right here. First team all Alabama JUCO. All right. Top 5 in the nation, block shots. This ain't somebody you just gonna talk crazy to, you feel me? Because I just got the facts to back myself up. That's what I like about Ben. I was like, let Ben win Defensive Player of the Year off that right there. Off this one interview. Give it to him. Bro said, Rudy guarded me when we played, and I had 40, and I ain't no scorer. So when he said that, I was like, yeah, give it to him.
Oh, yeah. I remember that interview, man. I'm glad you brought that up because after I saw that, I was like, then I remember the show. I forgot what it was, but I saw highlights too. Bro was stumbling. It was bad, man. I love Rudy. Don't get me wrong. His game has a place in today's NBA. I'm not trying to say that he's irrelevant. But Ben Simmons is guarding 1 through 5, a legit 1 through 5, comfortably. He's not sitting out here looking terrible. He's comfortably guarding. Rudy has been exposed multiple times by Steph Curry out there outside the paint. Multiple times you can go through all guards. He's been exposed by stumbling men out there playing twisted by the end of the game with how bad he looks out there on the perimeter.
Because he can't move his feet.
He can't. But to give him some validity to him, and why I do respect him, I remember, when was this? A little before the playoffs started last month. They showed a clip of, I forgot what team it was, but they were coming down in transition, and Rudy was back and was met one other teammate of his. One guy ran in, trying to drive into him. he thought about I forgot if he was trailing him or whatever, but I think Rudy was trailing him and he felt him coming, so he just, dribbled out, went around, kicked it to somebody else trailing and ran down behind him. Rudy was standing in the paint and he just like, nah, I'm not gonna go up against him. I'm gonna either try again or get this layup or float or something like that. Somebody else ran up behind him. Same thing. Somebody else ran up behind him. 4 guys from the same team said, nah, I'm not trying to go up against him. In one play. Not in a sequence, but one play. So I was like, sheesh, he got that much respect. So everybody be like, nah, I ain't gonna go up against you. Like, not this time. So don't get me wrong, he is a good defender. Do not get me wrong. Rudy Gobert deserves some love as a defensive player. But I think Ben Simmons is better. Hands down.
Like, man, and this coming from me. I'm a big, I'm a shot blocker, so I can appreciate Rudy's game. I appreciate that. But this is the difference between what Rudy do and what he does that I do, that I appreciate. So the thing about me is, on defense, just like Rudy, I am a shot blocker. Okay. I'm more comfortable around the rim. Okay. But what I also know is, you ain't finna put me on no island and think you finna go crazy. That's one other thing I know about myself. And there's been many a guard to think they was. You did what I'm saying?
Yep.
And then this is another thing about me. I'm adjusting to who I play to. You feel what I'm saying? So I ain't never gonna say I can guard 1 through 5, obviously. Don't put me on point guard. I'm not doing that consistent. But I can guard the pick and roll one time, see how the guard trying to, depend on how we guard it, because it's different coverages. But if I guard it one time and I see how they play it, they won't get to that same spot no more, or to that same option. That's just the type of dude I am. And so I feel like guards in the league call for a screen from Rudy, man, to bring Rudy out the paint. And then you either finna switch and make Rudy guard Steph Curry in them, so they finna get the dance.
Yep.
And he finna get this business because he we just seen it. He can't stay in front of nobody like that.
Nope.
But you either finna do that, or I'm finna call you gonna have somebody that can score the ball coming off the pick. So I'm finna do that, or I'm finna come off the screen. Rudy go back up because he want to be in the paint. Now what am I gonna do? Over the top.
Yep.
Cash. Somebody like Dame, Steph, Luka, guys live for that. Come on the screen, that you the backed up. Oh, all right, cash out. Or I'm gonna take 2 steps in, and I'm gonna take the mid. You can't step up because my big finna roll. So if you jump, I'm just dropping it off the hill. So I'm not saying, I'm not saying Rudy does not still have great defense. He's still a great shot blocker. I wouldn't want nobody else in the league in my help side. If I had to pick somebody, if somebody said, hey, you finna get blue by, who you want to have your help side in the league out of everybody? Give me Rudy. I want Rudy to slide over in my help. But there's still that hole in this game that I feel like guards in the league picking on. Okay, yo, man, Rudy, man, come here, set the screen. He finna have to make a decision today. And then he get to put on that island. And there's been plenty of times I got switched out on guards. And I know one thing for sure. You finna have to make this shot over the top. All right? This gonna be tough. Because what you won't do is bop, 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 and then have me looking crazy. And you get a layup or a step back 3 or something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I respect Rudy's game, but I also acknowledge the hole in it. And so Ben, I don't see that hole in Ben game. I see the hole in Ben game on the offensive end. So when it comes to defense, I'm like, hey, he got it, bro. I can put Ben on anybody. And so years like that, guys like that, that's the same thing we were saying about LeBron in Miami. It was like LeBron can guard all 5 positions. All that Derrick Rose in the playoffs. One time he had to guard what was that big name? At one point in time, he was guarding in a whole playoff series, in a whole playoff run. This man guarded Derrick Rose, Paul George, and what's the center name?
What team?
I can't remember his name. It wasn't Dwight Howard or nobody.
What team?
Who did he play in the Eastern Conference? I want to say Braun guarded Tim Duncan at one point.
That would
when they
not be
played the
surprising.
Spurs. Don't want to say. I want to say he was guarding Tim Duncan. So, and then you remember LeBron talking about that was the year they gave Marc Gasol Defensive Player of the Year, and then Marc Gasol wasn't even on all defensive first team. I feel like we kind of get that same look with Ben. Now Ben gonna be on all defensive first team. He better, and Rudy is too. So I ain't expecting nothing like that. But I'm just saying I feel like they gave Ben that same kind of treatment. Like, yeah, he guard off. We got this big who averaged more blocks and more rebounds. So let's get it to him. So I don't know. And I hate to say that because I'm a big. I usually have love for the bigs. I try to show love to the bigs like that. It's a guard-driven world, you know what I'm saying? But I try to show love to the bigs like that. That's why I love Embiid and all them. But I really wish Ben would have got for real. Just and Rudy got two. Give this one to Ben. Like let Ben have his mark in the league already. Because right now, if Ben retired today, all we'll say is, dang, he'd have been good if he had a jump.
That's a tough way to go out too, man.
Oh, man.
That's tough. But speaking of showing love, man, the last one, I really want to touch on was 6th Man of the Year. But just real quickly, man. Shout out to Jordan Clarkson, man. Like doing his thing. You got to show love to Joe Ingles too, because he said he was the first Jazz player to win it in the history. So shout out to him, man, for him coming back from he was part of that young Lakers crew that was supposed to be developed and growing together, but they got broken up because of LeBron era came in and dominated that whole thing, kicked everybody out. But
kicked everybody out.
Basically. So we kind of talked about that before, but shout out to him, man. I'm showing him some love. Joe Ingles being nominated, and I think Derrick Rose is nominated for that too. He's in the top 3. But shout out to Jordan Clarkson. That's a bucket. That's probably top 3 bucket getters in the league as far as like that's what his role is, man. He's up there with Jamal Crawford and Lou Will as far as like automatic walking buckets. So shout out to him winning 6th Man of the Year. Well deserved. Guys developed and grown a lot. So showing love to him, man. Anything you want to say about that?
Yeah, same thing. I feel like, I always love to see guys like find themselves in the league. And, I feel like when he was with the Lakers early in his career, when he got drafted, he kind of was just like the shooter. Same thing when he went to Cleveland. He was with LeBron for a little while. He was just like a shooter. Then he ended up getting traded to Utah. And so he gets to Utah and they like, hey, we're going to use you. And so I can always appreciate that. I feel like that's kind of an underdog story for them to be like, hey, I know what you've been doing, but forget all that. We see more of you. You go out to school here. You go back up Donovan, all that. And so, yeah, I feel the same way as you. Like, I'm happy. Shouts out to him. Put the work in. Stayed the course. It's one of them things. Like, man, what the situation you in now it ain't always got to be that. So he didn't sit in whatever because he probably wasn't happy just being a shooter. He probably knew he was a bucket or thought he was a bucket, and then here he is. So. Shouts out to him. I'm happy for that. Happy for him too. He won a few. He might be the only guy that won an award that we really was just like, yeah, I'm happy he got that.
Yeah,
I'm happy it was him.
Yeah. So yeah, that's it for the awards. Now to one that still hasn't come out yet, man. So predictions, and this is probably the most questionable one to have. It's probably the most debatable one to have. Do you go with LaMelo Ball coming out from the gate looking like a vet in year 1? Or do you go with Ant-Man Anthony Edwards picking up late in the year, man? So I know some of your feelings about that. So who's your rookie of the year?
My rookie of the year has got to be Ant-Man, and I love LaMelo game. I know everybody big on LaMelo, but I think my thing with LaMelo is, first off, he missed a lot of games due to injury, but he came back right there in the end. And I realized that the Timberwolves were not in playoff contention, but how many times was Rookie of the Year won by somebody in playoff contention? Like, probably more often it was not, but more often was the rookie of the year not in the playoffs than they were. If I had to guess, because
that's the reason why you drafted there, bro.
Right, you got drafted to a bad team.
Yeah.
And so LaMelo gets taken to the Hornets, and granted, they in the playoffs and they look good. He played well, but I don't know if people realize this, but Anthony Edwards, D'Angelo Russell, and Karl Anthony Towns averaged more points between three players than anybody else in the league. And none of them are all-stars this year. You got Bron, AD, and KCP. You got PG, Kawhi, and you say Pat Bell, I guess. And then you got KD, Kyrie, and James Harden. I don't know why I ain't starting right now.
I don't throw that in there. That's not a fair comparison, bro.
They was hurt a lot.
I'm gonna say that they barely play together, so you can't throw them in a category.
But hey, regardless of that, it's still them three. If I was to tell you to guess me a team with three players that have more points than any other three players, you would not guess Ant-Man, D'Lo, and Cat. You would not say that.
That's
and
true.
I feel like Ant-Man was not starting at first, and then earned a starting spot. Ant-Man was not starting, earned his starting spot, and after he earned a starting spot, they started winning more. And LaMelo, I feel like LaMelo was already on a decent team. Like Terry Rozier is still their best player. They still got PJ Washington showed up this year. He wasn't like no star or nothing, but he
Mikal Bridges.
Mikal Bridges is going crazy. He looking like the new Vince Carter.
His dunks are nasty.
Man, I'm talking about straight body. Like, you ain't getting up as high as me, so I'm just gonna bump you. Put him in the real.
Nasty.
But he got a solid core team. So I just feel like, not saying D'Lo, Cat, and Anthony Edwards aren't a good solid core, but they are the core. LaMelo didn't he have to be a part of his core team. It was Terry, Mikal Bridges, PJ Washington. And then they kind of just threw LaMelo in there. Like, okay, LaMelo's playing well at the start. We're going to start LaMelo at the 2. And but you still had Terry Rozier getting like, 30-point, 40-point games sometimes. So it just was like one of the things. I feel like, and I'm a down south kid. I got to roll with the guy from the south. My boy Anthony Edwards went to UGA from Georgia. I ain't from Georgia, but I appreciate it. He from the south with an F. So
South.
Yeah, he's from the South. So I got to roll with the kid from the South, man. Now, I think he going to win, and no. I think LaMelo got so much media attention that it won't even matter what he was doing. Like, LaMelo got the most media attention. He got more media attention than probably John Morant. Like, and Ja in his second year and was Ja an All-Star game? No.
Not this year.
Yeah, but Ja was borderline All-Star. And I'm quite certain if I had to guess who got more media coverage, like, of course, the Grizzlies probably have more games on TV, but as far as like individual players, I'm willing to bet LaMelo Ball had more media coverage than John Morant. Probably Trae Young too. So just going based off that, LaMelo probably gonna win it. But I hope Anthony Edwards does.
If I had to pick my winner, it's tough, man, because like he was just kind of saying, like he said that LaMelo had a better team built around him. But if we want to go play, like if you were drafting, take LaMelo and Ant out of the equation. If you were drafting players, you're going Cat and D'Lo before you pick any Hornets players. So talent-wise, Ant had the better talent around him. You know what I mean? So it's like Terry Rozier versus D'Lo. 9 out of 10 times, D'Lo's getting picked. You going Mikal Bridges and PJ Washington versus Cat. I'm taking Cat over both of those guys together. So it's like, then they're in the Western Conference too. So it's kind of like, if they were in the East, they probably would have Falcons. I don't know the record, but I'm pretty sure they would have been playoff potential too. They would have been, in the play-in game. So
yeah, I think that too.
That's tough, man. I think that the Timberwolves were dealing with injuries because both of their main guys were hurt, and shout out to Carter Towns real quick because he's been dealing with a lot with COVID the past year. So for him to come out still do what he's doing, salute to him, man. So the rest of his family. But yeah, man, like dealing with everything that the team has been dealing with injuries and all that, it's almost a fair comparison as far as the stability of a team almost.
Right.
I'm not saying it's equal, but it's pretty fair comparison. Honestly, man, if I had to pick one, I'll say LaMelo, just because he came out the gate. People were like, why is he not starting out the gate? And that's very tough to do. So I would go with him, man. The only thing that's slowing him down, same thing like with Joel Embiid, like perfect timing or worst timing. You know, as soon as he got hurt, he started missing games, Ant-Man started picking up to another level. So based off of the dominance he had with that lead before, I would say him, man. Like injury slowed him down and took him out the running. But if it weren't for the injuries, I don't see anything stopping him, man. Like that rookie wall was non-existent, bro. Like a rookie wall is more like a ladder for him because he was just getting better as the season went along, man. Like I said, with Luka looking real comfortable and looking like he belonged there versus the Clippers, that was LaMelo all season. So that's tough to say, man, because I just took away from Joel Embiid for being hurt, but I think injuries aside, man, LaMelo would have had that, man. So I might be contradicting myself, but I gotta give it to LaMelo. So that might be my pick.
I feel like I see why you said it though, but I don't know, man. I feel like the production we got out of Ant was a little better than LaMelo's, and like you said, catching them in the harder conference, like LaMelo in the easier conference. So he don't get his team in position to make the playoffs. Not like that still means something, but like we can't knock Ant for that in the harder conference on a team, especially on a team that ain't made the playoffs in God knows how long. So, but I don't know. They maybe the media surprised me and get to Ant, because Ant had some big games, some big shots, had some nice plays. You remember the dunk he did on that dude, that was an Asian guy. He went baseline, dunked on this man. They both fell. I was like, oh my God. And like he did not care about his safety, the other dude's safety. Just went in trying to dunk. I was like, dang, boy, you like that? Like, is that what we doing?
Yeah, him and Mikal Bridges had easily the top 2 dunks of the year. Easily. Like that dunk you talking about with Ant and that Vince Carter, like Mikal Bridges dunk that he had, those were the top 2 dunks of the year. If somebody else had to run it for third, but it's like those two are like easily top 2 picks for me for dunk of the year. But that was nasty, man. That was.
And I got some more info for you. So they say Ball played, you got to play in at least 60% of the games to be considered for any awards. And they say he played at 71. So he well over the mark to get an award. So that's why he's still even in conversation. But he averaged 15, 6, and 6 and stealing half a game. And then Ant-Man averaged, this is not his full, hold on, sorry. So yeah, he had, so LaMelo averaged 15, 6, and 6 with a steal and a half. And Ant averaged 19, 4, and 2. And I mean, I can go into more in-depth stats, but
I'll take it back just off of that. Ant-Man Rookie of the Year. I'll take my vote back. Ant-Man Rookie of the Year.
Because of the 4 points and more.
Because think about it. More than likely, Melo Ball was the first option. He's point guard, so he has pretty much free reign, kind of do what he wants to do.
Right.
So it's like for Ant-Man to be the third option, basically, maybe the second option on that team, for him to be averaging basically 20 points, you get a little bit more of an out. But like I said before, he's playing behind the two. If you're drafting players on both of those teams, you're playing behind the 2 best players out of both organizations, and you're averaging 20 over there. Not to say LaMelo Ball can't average more, but he's more of a facilitator on that team. Don't get me, he's still a scorer, but he's more a facilitator on his role. But
Right.
I gotta give the Ant-Man because like you said, he's hit some game winners in clutch moments. They're going to him. When you automatically have D-Lo, like D-Lo's ice in my veins, like everybody doing that little pose now, like that came from D-Lo. Like,
Right.
that's tough, man. So for you to have that respect in your rookie year, I gotta get to him. So just off of that and thinking about that changed my vote, man. So I gotta go with Ant-Man rookie of the year. Yeah, that's tough.
Okay, well, I'm glad, I was able to sway you to my side. So
That's the first and probably the only time.
hey, you're right, because that does not happen often.
Nah.
But all right, so them are our awards. Next week, not next week, but next time we'll probably get more into what's going on in the playoffs at that point, because by the end, second round should be close to wrapping up unless they get to busting out some 7-game series. But from every series that we've seen, not gonna lie, don't think there's gonna be no 7-game series. We got Utah, right? Maybe we got Utah up 2-0. We got Brooklyn up 2-1. We got Phoenix up 3-0. So that's about over with. And then we got Philly up 2-1. But I kind of expect them to win at 6. But we'll see. But
so let's go ahead and get your predictions, man. But by the time we come back and talk about this next time, like you just said, right now we got Utah and Clippers. It's tough, man. I feel like at first I was going to say Utah coming out, but the Clippers slowly coming back and doing their thing, man. So who you got winning that series going to the next round?
Well, I'm gonna cheat a little bit about looking at the score of the game they in right now. The Clippers are finna win in this game. I mean, they up 120-98. There's 3:30 left in the game, so that's about over with. So the Jazz finna be up 2-1. My mind telling me the Clippers gonna win, but my heart want the Jazz to win. I want Donovan to kind of get over that hump. Plus, I ain't never like the Clippers like that. So, I'm not. I used to like Paul George when he's at Indiana, but then he kind of ever since he left, it ain't been the same. So, but I ain't never liked the Clippers. Don't like Pat Bev. I don't like his whole energy, his attitude. So, never been a Clippers guy. So I kind of hope the Jazz will win. So I'm gonna say Jazz is 7. I say that will go to 7. I say Jazz is 7. And then Phoenix is about over. They probably finna get the sweep next game. And then we got Nets. I say Nets in 5. I don't think Milwaukee pull out another one. Chris Middleton had to get them boy 35, and he's not doing that consistently, which is sad because that's kind of what they need, but he's not doing that consistently. So I say probably Brooklyn at 5, Philly at 6. What you say?
So yeah, we agree for the most part. Like you said, Head wants to say Clippers, but Hart wants to say Utah. I think Utah pulls it out overall. Yeah, Phoenix got that wrapped up. It's nice to see Chris Paul getting back there, my MVP of this year. So, of course, I want to see him go to the next round. We got Brooklyn. Of course, they coming out, win that. There's no competition. No respect. No disrespect. I like Giannis overall, but the Bucks and Giannis individually got a lot of work they need to do this offseason for sure. So, I don't see them coming out at all. I still don't believe in them. I haven't believed in them ever. But the Hawks, no disrespect. I'm just basketball talk. I ain't trying to disrespect nobody. But just basketball talk. Initially I had the Hawks coming out in 6, man. I had them beating Philly in 6, maybe 7. But it's looking like Trey's getting locked up, man. Like he's having a tough time dealing with that length. So Hart says Hawks. I want the ATL down south with the F, like you said. I want the Hawks to come out. I want Trey to get it out there, ball dominant guy. I want him to win it. But my head saying the Sixers, man. I don't see they got an answer for Joel. I don't see him having an answer for Ben. But Ben's the answer for Trey for the most part. And he just long, man, like 6'1", 6'2", going against 6'10" like that. He's fast enough to stick with him, got quick feet, strong. He's a good player, man. So that's the one I'm battling with. But I'm gonna stick with my pick originally, man. So I'm gonna stick with Hawks in 6 or 7. So I'm gonna go down sinking with that ship if I go down with it, man. I'm gonna stay loyal to that pick. So
y'all going down.
yeah, I got Hawks in 6. That's the only one we kind of disagree on. So we got if I had to pick one, did we say Clippers? Did I say my pick? Who I wanted?
Yeah, you said you'll go Utah.
Yeah, so Utah versus Suns for the West. Oh, that's an awkward pick. But Utah, Jazz versus Suns going to the next round. And we got Nets versus Hawks. I'm going to stick with my Hawks. Nets versus Hawks. So we'll see how we turn out, man. That's our predictions for now. Set our predictions for Rookie of the Year. That's it for me, man. Anything you got want to add?
No, they were good, man. Hey, I hope my boy Giannis can turn it around. That'd be great, but
Nope.
I don't see it happening.
Nope.
Hey, look, now you didn't brought up Utah in 6, talking about beating Philly. So I can say I hope my boy pull it out in Milwaukee. But
It's 2 different situations, bro. It's 2 totally different situations.
they playing 2 different monsters. My
We
boy
done
playing
seen-
3.
We done seen Giannis go through the same thing for how many years now? Same
Hey,
problem.
He put out Miami, and they beat them last year.
That's
And
all
they
another
like
conversation. Whole other conversation we gotta have, bro. Like that's a good conversation I want to have one day, probably summertime. But the Bucks, man.
Giannis, he ain't playing bad though. He just it's not enough.
If y'all want to know how I feel about Giannis, listen to what Nelson had to say to the last episode. That's my frustration with him and with the whole organization as a whole. Overall, that's a whole other conversation. But yeah, that's how I feel, man. So that's a wrap for this episode number 17. It's a nice little good one for you guys. A little different from what we usually do, but we're gonna keep doing different stuff because different doesn't always mean bad. So that's it for you guys. Appreciate you tuning in. Episode 17. It's a wrap. And of course, the conversation should not end when we stop and press record and it stops. That was a terrible way to say that, but I'm gonna roll with it. So
I'm leaving it all in.
It's all good. I'm not gonna edit it out. But anyway, so yeah, the conversation not end when we press record and the recording stop. That still didn't work, but it's all good.
When we press stop. When we press stop.
The conversation doesn't end when the recording stops. That's a good way to say that. So yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Basically just comment, man. That's the point I'm trying to get out. Comment on our post and let us know what you think. So let us know, man. Was that a terrible ending or was it a horrible ending? Because that was pretty bad. But who do you agree with for our picks? Who do you got going to the next round? Who's your defensive player of the year, rookie of the year, whatever? Let us know about your awards. How you feel at the playoffs? Everything we talked about, man. Like, who was your top 5 point guards? You know, with Chris Paul with the ring, Chris Paul without the ring. Who is your next generation players? Like, let us know, man. We touch on a lot of different things here, so we're trying to get some feedback from you guys, man. Let us know if you got anything you want us to talk about. So we're all ears. We're open to suggestions. Let us know, man. So that's it from BeBall Jones and Nelson Haskins. We're signing out right here, episode 17. Appreciate you tuning in. Follow us on social media and show us some love. Let us know what's up, man. So that's it. Signing out.